Greetings to everybody. We are here for the 8th time. This is our 8th intergenerational meeting with students and advisors, senior mental health educators. It's nice to be here again. I will leave the floor for the beginning to Ramin as one of the co-moderator. Please, Ramin.
Thank you very much, Dr. Choshkun. Welcome to our speaker, Dr. David Barron, and all the participants who are with us in this Zoom meeting. And welcome to those who are tuning in from YouTube as well. So for those of you who are on YouTube, you can always leave your comments in the live chats, and we might be able to react to it if there are any. So once again, welcome to our 8th intergenerational meeting, where the topic of discussion for today would be connections in psychiatry, with the theme of building bridges and cultivating collaborations. So before we begin, we thought we would like to set the mood with a musical sharing that was created by my friend and I. So because the theme was about collaborations and reaching out to people, I reached out to my friend who was from a different course. He's studying veterinary medicine, and he's also a musician. So the two of us came up with a short skit that we hope you find entertaining. So just give me a moment to share it. All right.
Along the road, the only one that I have ever known. Don't know where it goes. Yes. A hand, bro? Yeah, sure. I'll sail know when I need it, I can count on you. Like 4, 3, 2, you'll be there. That's what friends are supposed to do. Oh yeah. Count on me, 'cause I can count on you.
Yeah, so I hope you all enjoyed that. Basically, the concept was that, it's about a guy who is all alone, and he's not reaching out to others, but then someone reaches out to him, and like, okay, let's play it together. And the songs kind of reflect it. So initially, he's singing a song about being alone, and then the other song that we wanted to play, we chose that song because I feel that's basically what collaboration is about. There are like 2 lines in particular, like in the chorus, you can hear, you can count on me like 1, 2, 3, and I'll be there. Because I know when I need it, I can count on you. And like there's this reciprocity and this, give and take, which I think is key in collaboration. So yeah, that's one of the reasons we chose this song. And yeah, so that was my friend Dwayne, by the way. So Dwayne, if you're watching, hi. All right. So I think without further ado, I think we can move on to the main agenda, the meet and greet of our meeting here. So I'd like to invite Professor Norman Sartorius to share his thoughts on connections in psychiatry, collaborations, building bridges, so on. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I think that I'm convinced and have been convinced throughout my career that it is much better, more likely to make something function if you establish collaboration and if you work with other people. Being alone has advantages, but in terms of productivity, being alone is not, in our field of medicine and applied science, is not particularly valuable. So the basic elements in collaboration, however, is that you have to find people who are willing to collaborate. And that search for people can be quite strenuous and difficult because not everybody is ready or willing or able to collaborate. And the search for the right kind of person probably takes about 50% of the entire time of the project. You have to, of any project that you want to do, you have to go around and explore and speak to people and try to find those who are likely to be interested and who are likely to invest themselves in a collaborative project. And once that is done, it depends on the leader of the project, whether the project will survive. And the survival of the project depends on skills of leadership, which are not taught. Some have it because the good God has given them to them. Others have to learn it before they can run a project. And they are very simple skills too. They are similar to the leadership that you can show in a small team when you are in a hospital. But added to it is, of course, the necessity to learn more about other people's culture, habits, ways of behaving. This can be learned very easily, but the basic skills which one has to acquire are very important. And not everybody has them, and not everybody who wants to learn them can't learn them because it's just too much away from their nature. But I would say that the majority of people could learn those skills, and if they ever want to work in collaborative studies or in collaborative work of other type, they have to concentrate on acquiring skills and habits which will allow them to work in a group, which is different from working alone. So I certainly think that it would be extremely useful to you for young people in general to learn how to collaborate, how to be in a group, number one. And number two, to consider collaborative work as being the much preferable to any individual work. When you work with other people, it's not only that you are creating science, you're also creating friendships, and the friendships are probably much more stable than science. Science changes, but friendships tend, if they're well done, they tend to last. So that's all I can say in terms of introduction.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to that, Prof. Because, I mean, as we know, especially in the medical field, you're never really working on your own. You're always in a team, and whether it's, you know, other within the same department, or, you know, among colleagues, among nurses, among the other healthcare professionals. I think having collaborations in our workplace itself is already something that we should be accustomed, and we should be already practicing. So
but I must correct you there. I think that 90% of the people who work in a team do not collaborate. They are in the same team, but that's not collaboration. You can find this out very easily. Go to a, how many, if you work with 5 nurses, what do you do about their children, about their parents, about their interests, about their problems? They will tell you some problems, but what about the other problems which they maybe carry with them? Maybe they're chronically bothered by something, but you never find out about it. And I think that the notion that it's enough to put a team together to get collaboration is a notion that is wrong. Collaboration, working together, requires an intensive effort, a lot of investment, and a lot of time. And if you don't invest it into it, it will never become a collaborative effort. It will be a team, all right, but that's very different from a collaboration.
Excuse me, may I drop in and ask Dr. Sartorius, first, welcome among us. What would be the ways to learn about those skills? You said most of them are inborn, but still some can be learned. What hints would you like to underline?
Well, the first one is a very important skill, and that is one that is for the whole of medicine, probably the half of the effect of all treatment is that particular skill, which is the skill of listening. How do you listen in a manner that is not only obtaining information, but also gets you a notion of what is important for the person and what is less important, where you can intervene and where you cannot intervene. And to be able to listen is a very difficult proposition. It's not at all easy. We have done a study on one occasion in which we have asked doctors, general practitioners, to not speak for the first 3 minutes of the interview. And they did not say a word, because we have to take into account that today's doctors, the average time before a doctor interrupts a patient who comes to him is 30 seconds. That is after the patient comes through the door and he says, doctor asks him, what brings you here? And he says, well, you know, I have this headache on here on the left. He says, is it regular or not? Interrupts him immediately. And then is it happening in the morning or in the afternoon? It never lets to. And so the first thing is to really think about what are the elements of good listening, giving time, giving empathy, making sure that you are truly interested and that you record and that you remember what has been said. Because if you are saying, yes, yes, just tell me all of these things, but you don't really listen, you think about your own problems, it's not on. So I think that the skill of listening is the number one skill. The skill number two, which I think one should, is the skill of talking. How can you tell people something in a manner that will be understandable and clear and also within their sphere of thinking? Because that's not so easy either. Very often a doctor will speak at a level which patients don't understand or nurses do not understand or anybody else. So the second one is, how do you express yourself? How do you learn how to express your thoughts? You can do the exercise. You can take if you want to teach students about this, that's what we have been doing. You take a newspaper article, you put it in front of them, and you say, you have 30 seconds to tell me what's in that newspaper article. And you will see that a very large number of people are unable to say what is the element, or the most important element on what they have. They know it, they have fantastic knowledge, but they do not know how to convey it. So that's the second skill. It's collaboration. The third one, of course, is to know yourself. You must know yourself, whether you're really interested in what you're doing, or whether this particular project in which you get engaged is in fact not of your interest. And you must be honest with yourself to say, I really don't think I will work on that, so I'll get out of it. Or if you continue working, knowing that you're not really neither keen nor able to become a true member of the team. So these are some of the elements that you have to have. Listen, able to convey things that you have, and a true interest in the matter which is under consideration.
Thank you very much. Ramin, I'm leaving the floor again to you. Please continue.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if anyone else has some comments or anything to add to that.
Yeah, I can add something actually. I definitely agree with like especially the last thing Dr. Sartorius said, the importance of interest, because I am like, I would define myself in my college years as more of a passion-driven person. Like I put on a lot of emotion in the things that I do. And for a long time, this was very like more than enough for me to actually be successful in my collaborations with people. But then I worked in international NGOs and stuff and achieved things that I'm very proud of. But then I came back home and focused on, you know, finishing my finishing project for a special track back in school. And I really came to the same realization that Dr. Sartorius mentioned in a very hard way, that I was very passionate about the topic that I was studying, but the discipline, it was, I realized it was definitely something that I was not interested in. And I saw myself through it. I managed to complete it because of the way that I was like mission driven, and I just wanted to finish it. But I think the lack of interest that I come to realize within myself, it really hinders your ability to collaborate, because in order to collaborate, I think you really need to have that sort of curiosity in you to ask the right questions to the people you are working with and get the right sort of help from them. And that is so hard without you being interested in what you're doing. So yeah, it just like resonated with me a lot. So I wanted to share.
Of course, on occasion, you will collaborate even if you have no interest in the subject matter, because you're keen to be with people who you like, and you're willing to sacrifice doing some garbage because that's the way they are doing it, so you do it as well. It's almost like paying a ticket for a theater performance. You pay the ticket to be able to get into the hall where you will have something nice, and it's not really that you are interested in any other way. But I think that those are the elements, nevertheless, having a true interest. And you have to examine yourself a little. When you say I have an interest, you have to think and compare this interest. Am I willing to give up coffee because of that interest? Is that how strong it is? Or is it, I'm happy not to do this, or it's more important than going to a cinema? Or you have to put the interest in what you're doing on a scale of values that you have. This is the most valuable thing in my life, and I'm willing to sacrifice everything else. Very rarely. And so the scale of values plays a tremendously important role. And all you have to do is you have to really judge to know where it is, because that will guide you. And then you can still stay in a project that is of absolutely no interest to you, because you say that the garbage which they are doing is irrelevant, but the people are lovely. I really like working with them. They are marvelous people. They are interested in this thing. So I'm going to pay my ticket by pretending that I'm interested in the subject in order to be with them. because that's what I like. And that's what I feel is valuable for them and for myself.
I'd like to add something, if I could, to a very rich discussion. One of the things and I'm going to talk about my relationship with Professor Sartorius that literally goes back 40 years. He's been really a hero of mine, and I'm a third-generation psychiatrist. What I learned from him 40 years ago when we barely knew each other. But I think when we're talking about this, we talk about asking questions, not lecturing to people. But Ben Franklin, who was a famous in the United States, back in the 1700s, talked about the Junta method. And it was, don't tell people what to do, but ask the appropriate question. Don't challenge them, but have them try to genuinely understand. And I think Professor Sartorius was so right on the money when saying, learn how to be a good listener. And listening isn't just not saying something. We can sometimes sit there and not say a word, and people know that our thoughts are drifting. But showing compassion and a sense of respect, and I want to underscore respect. If you have respect for yourself, you're not going to stay into something that you can't stand. But as Professor Sartorius says, respect might be, maybe I need to learn about this, or maybe I need to ask other members of the team, help me understand how this is going to be relevant for patients, for others, in a genuine way of caring. So I've always felt that if you're able to show and be genuine about a passion for the work that you're doing, maybe you don't like that. I worked in the Department of Neurosurgery. I had no desire to cut somebody's brain open, but I was interested in understanding how I could contribute, more importantly, what they could teach me. Showing respect for culture. Too often in the United States, we think we have it all right. And I've always learned so much more when I get the opportunity to go to low and middle income countries who have much less resources. But if I can show them respect, that I need them to teach me how to do it. That collaboration isn't about a, quote, expert coming in and telling them how to do it. True collaboration, I believe, is learning from each other. It's asking the question. It's listening. It's being respectful to everyone. And sometimes you have to be the most respectful to the people who you disagree with. And to me, the way we show respect is to ask the honest question and to say, I know this must be important for you. I'm not getting it. I need you to help me understand, because this is, if it's important to you, then I'm missing something. And a team, I think, comes together. And I was trained as a CL psychiatrist. And I think, I do believe you can. I had one of my deans at my university who was always telling the faculty what to do. And she couldn't figure out why the faculty didn't like her very much. And I said, you have some brilliant faculty. Why don't you change your tactic? Ask them questions to help you understand better, as opposed to constantly telling them they're doing it wrong, or why didn't they do it better? So I think a key to this discussion today, which I think is critical to our field of psychiatry, and I'll talk about that later. We started from a field that was all solo, and it was Professor Sartorius. Some of you are too young to remember. He was the champion of our field in an interdisciplinary fashion. He was the champion of mental health as an important component, a key component of physical health. He's driven my 40-plus year career now from what he taught me when I was just finishing my training back in Los Angeles over 40 years ago. So I think if we take away nothing else, Boulan just asked us, how do we learn this? I think we learned this when we were in kindergarten, how to be respectful of others, how to have a genuine sense of curiosity. We can have passion for the process, maybe not even the topic, but a genuine desire. I want to learn from this, or I want to educate my colleagues to let them know that what they're doing is a bunch of bull. Usually we learn from each other. So that to me is the key to this session today. If our students, as we come together and we learn from each other, and we learn from the students, and we learn from social media, and we learn how we've suffered by not having those interactions, I believe the key to collaboration that's successful scientifically, clinically, is one of respect, asking the right questions, listening, and contributing in a way that's positive and not to the kind of the detriment of other people in the team, showing them how smart you are, but rather showing them how you'd like to learn what they've learned through their life experiences and their education.
Dr. David Barron, you mentioned that you mentioned about a collaboration in the neurosurgery department, even though you were not interested in cutting up people's brains and so on. I think all of us students are a bit curious here. What are some examples of collaborations that you've had that are truly memorable to you, and how did you go about with those collaborations?
Well, again, we've got Professor Sartorius, who has done this probably better than any psychiatrist ever. And I can say that because my grandfather and dad were psychiatrists. Sigmund Freud was a friend of my grandfather's. When his daughter Anna came to Philadelphia, they lived with my So I can say this from a historical perspective, but I was trained as a consultation liaison psychiatrist. So I worked in a general medical hospital, as many of you know, and my success as a profession really relied on my ability to collaborate with the internists, the surgeons. And I really enjoyed that. And I think the most successful collaborations that I've had, and I've really spent my career, I'm not smart enough to do anything on my own. I have to collaborate with people who are way smarter than I am, whether it's collaborating on a book or a paper or a national organization. Professor Sartorius has been president of the the world's premier psychiatric organization that is all about collaborations. And I think as a student, one of the things that's important to realize is never be ashamed or afraid to pick up the phone and call a senior member and say, I'd like to get involved, or I need to understand more about this. I can tell you Professor Sartorius has had more mentors than probably most of us will see in our entire careers, because he always had time to listen. He collaborated in a way with every one of his students, was always willing to take a phone call. So I think collaborations, what makes them successful in my eyes is what you're able to produce. And I'm not just talking about a paper or a grant, but maybe the production is the ability to work together on not this project, future projects, to improve and enhance the care of our patients, the promotion of our field, the understanding of how our field, because I really believe that the future of psychiatry, and I mean this as someone who, again, has been in a long time, the future of our field is not about seeing a patient one-to-one in an office. That will always be important. I think the future is about how do we collaborate? We're never going to have enough psychiatrists. How do we collaborate with family physicians who are providing care? How do we collaborate with teachers or workers in villages who are providing some level of support? We are social animals. So I think every time we have an interaction, that is a mini to a micro collaboration. And we as psychiatrists or psychiatrists in training need to understand that human interaction is in fact a form of a collaboration. Professional collaborations, I mean, the reason I've enjoyed writing grants and a lot of my career has been in that way is I really enjoy working with the team. And when we just submitted a grant a few weeks ago, we spent a good deal of time, but that feeling of working together, everyone contributing, everyone respecting the biostatistician, all the different pieces, it's like a good sports team. You don't make a good football team. I'm talking about European football by having, 11 goalkeepers out there. You need a striker, you need some fullbacks, you need some midfielders. The good team has good players who work together. We heard a wonderful musical interlude. It wasn't the Beatles, it was the Beatles who collaborated together and they share. And I think we can learn that in our field. And I think we need to make sure that our colleagues in medicine understand that we want to collaborate. We want to work with them. We don't want to be isolated in our own hospitals away from everybody else or our patients who are stigmatized, but that we want to learn from them and hopefully we can learn from each other. So I feel the collaborations, I've always enjoyed writing a book, writing a paper, a grant, a clinical case conference. When we used to bring in an interesting case, I'd bring in specialists from different fields who would share their frustrations or their challenges, and we try to work through them together, because I personally have found there's really nothing more gratifying than coming together in a collaboration that's successful. And we can define success in many different ways.
Well, maybe one other thing one should say is that it is just as complex and just as important to learn how to be a leader as it is to be a member. Because to be a member of a team is sometimes more difficult, because although you know that things should be done differently, you're not a leader. I mean, you have to sell your idea in a way, and you must make sure that selling your idea does not destroy the team. does not bring to a splitting of people in 2 or 3 factions. So learning how to be a member is, in one way, successful multi-member families teach you a little bit about that. When you have a good family that is composed of many people and they seem to be liking each other, it's a wonderful field to learn. What did the mother do to do this, and what does the father do, and what do the children do, and what do the uncle and how are they behaving? Why is it functioning? Why is it working? I mean, they are all linked by blood, but blood doesn't mean anything unless you add to it something else. And so the skills of leading and the skills of membership are a little bit different, but it's important to have both.
I'd like to ask the students and other people on the call, think about either teachers or people you've had who you thought were excellent, either an excellent teacher, an excellent group leader. What were those skills that they had? I mean, certainly you have to have knowledge of the content, but I'd like to ask you, what do you view as the things that you've observed in people who you thought were excellent leaders or they were great collaborators? To me, a good leader, as Professor Sartori said, is someone that brings the whole group together. And it gets back to that thing that I mentioned about a respect for everyone, that anyone on the team has something important to say and that we should listen to it and that we should all be open and be thankful to learn from each other. So I'd like to put it open to you because I think a collaboration is really not you hearing from Professor Sartorius and I and Professor Kostyan, but if you could share with us, what do you view in your very earlier in your careers? What are the things that you've seen that have said, that's the type of leader that I want to be? For me, I'm lucky enough to have one of my mentors, even from afar, on this call today, who taught me so much just by observing him and the way he functioned when he was with WHO and with WPA and so many important roles. But he always represented us with class, with dignity, and showing respect for everyone. So he's taught me so much after these 40 years. I'd love to hear from our students on the call or junior faculty on the call, junior members. What do you believe are the important ingredients to create collaboration, to build bridges, and to show strong leadership? Because every team does need a leader, but a leader that engages the whole team, gets the most out of all of them.
Back when I was working in this student organization, I had a team leader, and I think she was very experienced in working with people in general, like it was in her background. So she was very good at conflict resolution between team members. And I'm just not talking about things that are like conflicts in a professional sense, like, because when you work a lot with people, spend a lot of time with them, things can get also personal. So she was also very good at resolving personal conflicts as well, because she knew people, and like sometimes she would say, sometimes it's just a clash of personalities, and she was very good at protecting the feelings of members as well, but in the meantime having them understand each other. So it was something, I thought it was something that was very hard to do, because it's just something that we don't want to touch when something's going on between two people in a team. But she was very good at handling things like that, and like preventing the members from losing their motivation in the team, because it is important when you, even if it's something personal, when you have some sort of issue with another team member, it can highly hinder your ability to feel safe in that team, and like your ability to speak up and participate comfortably. So it was something I really appreciated about her. Yeah, that's just like, yeah.
I think another important aspect would be accountability for a leader. I think we are only human. We tend to make mistakes as well. But a leader, a good leader should be able to, confess when they've, made a mistake and admit that, okay, I made a wrong call. This is a wrong judgment. and maybe then we can engage the rest of the team, the rest of the collaboration, the collaborators, to try and figure out a solution together in that sense. I think that's something that I was thinking of. From my own personal experience, I think it really ties back to what has been discussed, what Dr. David Barron has said, what Prof. Sartorius has said about communication, I think. Because in the collaborations that I have been involved in, a lot of the times miscommunications tend to happen, and the rest of the members tend to think that, oh, the leader is just ordering us around, he's not doing much of the work. Then the leader is like, no, the members are not doing much work, they're just, you know, they're just sitting around, they're just I tell them to do something, they just do exactly as they say, but they're not thinking for themselves, they're not adapting to the situation and so on. And then a lot of miscommunication happens, and you know, it leads to backbiting and a lot of other conflicts as well. So I think clear communication, and as Prof. Sartorius has mentioned, the eloquency and the language that we use has to be clear to the team who's you know, trying to listen, and they should be, you know, it should be within their sphere of understanding as well. Yeah.
Well, there is also a difference. There is also a difference between building a team and joining a team. The skills which you have for the two is a little different. In building the team, you have to really take time to select who will be with you, because the relationship in the future will be much more intense than it is. For example, people whom you admire because they are fabulously independent and intelligent, you must be very careful about selecting them a member of your team, because they will continue to seek leadership, to seek being the number one, and may therefore not fit with other members. So thinking about what the team members will be, who are they, is a very important thing. That's when you are building a team. The other thing is being a team member. And here, the decision which you have to make when you are getting a chance to become a team member is, you have to think a little bit, will I be able to be a member of that team? Not because of your skills or ability, that's different, but being ready to accept the rules and to build them and to help and to work, etc. Or is this team not something in which I can succeed? And most of the teams you can succeed, but some of them are a priori, you know that you will have so many difficulties, it's almost not worth joining it. So the difference between an opportunity to build a team and the opportunity to becoming a member of the team are very different in their nature. For each one of them, you have to spend a lot of time to really grasp exactly what would be there. Who are these other people who are in the team? What kind of a relationship am I likely to have with them? Is there maybe somebody who will be continuously unpleasant? I know he's unpleasant to everybody, so he'll be unpleasant to me. So we'll have a fight straight away. Or is there somebody else? Do I respect the leader? Do I think that this leader is of any value? So there are many questions of that type. And of course, it's not within an hour that we are together that you can learn this. But I think that what you can learn is to continue thinking about that, and to also, what is important, to observe what happens elsewhere, to see which teams have been successful and why. And I think that gradually keeps getting you ideas about building your own team one day or creating a team. My own sense is that it's at your age, I don't mean chronological age, but your age in terms of your profession, having a collaboration with other people is of essential importance, but becoming a team should be reserved for those whom you really like well. It's a difference between knowing what other people are doing and helping them and being friendly with everybody, from really committing yourself to help a particular team and a particular idea, because you have your own ideas which you'd like to realize, and following someone else is not an easy proposition. For a team leader, it's easy. All he has to do, he has to convince his members that they are wonderful. Everything else follows. Because they are so proud that they are wonderful. And you give them an idea and they are wonderful. Oh, wonderful, let's do it. And they do it. And so that's easy for the leadership. But for being a member, it's more difficult.
And you know, let's go back to Psychology 101. What's the greatest shaper of behavior? We learned this all very early on. It's positive reinforcement. So if you, and I love the example that we mentioned earlier, you know, that if someone makes a mistake, rather than berating them, the leader can be in a position to say, in front of the whole team, I really value the courage you have to say something, even though it might not be correct. Now, here's what we need to do. Let's go look it up. So I think we can control what I call the culture of the team. This to me really falls on the leader, just like when we're doing group psychotherapy. You know, we learn this, you know, during our residency, but a team leader learns how to, it's just like, as Norman knows, I've been very involved with the world of sport, professional Olympic for many, many years. And it's interesting when you look at a sports team, it's not always the best players, but it's the players that can come together. I've seen it in the professional ranks many, many times over the years, where a player is not doing particularly well on one team, and he or she gets traded to another team, and all of a sudden it's a superstar. I say, what a great fit. So team dynamics is not always about the individual. It's how the individual can fit in. And what a good coach or a good team leader can do is to learn how to bring the team together. And I've been in teams where I've gone to individuals and said, you know, I respect you as an individual. You're a brilliant person. You've done this. This is not a good fit. And I see you're not happy and it's affecting the others. So I want to help you as the team leader find a place where it will be a better fit for you, because I know you're intelligent and I want you to be successful. So the leader has to be willing to, again, show respect. But I believe leaders need to lead. And part of collaboration, when we talk about building a bridge goes from one place to another. Bridges don't just go straight up into the sky. So what are we bridging? What are we trying to get across? How are we getting from an initial point to where we want to be? And with the collaboration, I think it's about developing a team that can work well together, that can grow together, that can stimulate each other. And I think Professor Sartorius really said it. A successful team is the great emotional deodorant. You know, if the team's successful and they're getting grants and they're being invited and their papers are getting into all the best and the patients are doing really well, people will say, all right, you know, maybe we have a few disagreements, but I'm proud to be a member of this team. And to me, as a leader, and I've been very fortunate to be in leadership roles for quite a number of years now, I always make sure that when the team succeeds, the team gets the credit. And if the team fails, I say, okay, that's my responsibility as the leader, you know, so that the team doesn't feel that they've let you down. And I think leadership, and we've seen this time and again, and we just need to understand that people want to feel good about what they're doing. They want to feel good about the people that work. It doesn't mean they have to be best friends, but it gets back to that point. There needs to be a core sense of respect for each other and for the goals and the objectives, and then staying focused on what those goals and objectives are, to not have it lose focus so people feel like, why am I doing this?
A nice little test that you might wish to use at some stage is the following. Sometimes a team leader will present a paper at a conference. And you should, if that is happening in a team that you do not know, look at what will be the first slide that he will present. If the first slide is the names of the people who are in his team, you can join that team. Many of them will not do this. They will in fact give a talk, and then maybe at the end, maybe they say, I'm very proud that this has been done by the team composed of the following people. But if that comes at the end, it's an indication of where in his or her mind stands this team. Where are the members of the team? So somebody comes along and says, I want to tell you about my study. Here is the people who worked in it. This is the place where we work. Join that team. It's very likely to put you as well in the first slide of the next talk. And I think that that's where gradually you have some possibility to also to show that you're valuable and that you do things. And I think that We have leadership courses in which we are, among other things, also have an exercise on team building. And I think that what I found fascinating about this was that so many of the younger people are wonderful material to join a team, but either never get it, they don't believe in themselves, or they don't use the teams, or I think they're not close to they're close to the idea that they could do more if they worked with somebody than when they do alone.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Is there anything we can do, kind of exercise that become a good member of a team? How we can learn to listen or talk, or is it a lifelong process?
No, I think it's very easy. The skill of listening is one that is which you can exercise every day. When somebody starts talking, try to see how you can make him talk more. Sometimes it's difficult because you'd like somebody to stop talking because they talk too much. But by and large, try to see whether you can control yourself sufficiently to be willing to listen empathically and to listen. And gradually you will learn the great skill of being silent for a moment and accepting and showing by your behavior, by your body and by mind, by everyone, that you are willing, that you have an interest in what that person tells you. So that's one thing that I think one can learn. And the other skills which go with it, which we cannot all show here, can all be learned fairly easily if you give them time to read. And one of the areas which you could do at your position is really to try to see whether there are any teams around and watch them, to see what they are doing and what they are not doing, and to see what seems to make them happy and what seems to make them unhappy, because that will give you clues about how to evaluate the team, whether it's good or bad, and also how to behave in a team. And looking at leaders who are successful, I think just watching them is very important as well. But training yourself to listen is, sometimes you will find a teacher who can help you with this, but even if you don't have a teacher to hand, just become conscious that you have to listen, that what a person tells you is more important than what you have to say. What you have to say will come later. What you have to do first is to listen to see what the situation is. What is it? And some people are very good at talking and others are less good. So you have to give them time and you have to nod your head. I mean, it's good psychiatry is listening. So it's within psychiatry, if you don't know how to listen, you are a miserable psychiatrist. Nobody will know that except for yourself. But I mean, it's not a superficial skill. It's a central skill to all of our profession. And not only that, but you will notice that if you have listened well, people get better, even if you give them no treatment. It is the capacity to giving them the confidence that they are able to express themselves, which makes people very much better, stronger themselves, more convinced that they are somebody and something. So listening is one of the skills. The second one is to, in meeting people, think what's good about them. We usually think about what's bad about them. This one, he doesn't speak clearly, and this one dresses miserably, and this one is, I don't know, muttering when he speaks. But then in every single person, there are things which are good. So find them. Try to discover what's worth admiring in another person. That will allow you to judge that person better, so that even if he has mistakes or she and shortcomings, it's the good things which prevail. And since none of us is perfect, you have to be with people in whom there is more to admire than to criticize. And that balance, you will find it's very useful, not only in work, but also in real life, where again, you have to have the same process of trying to assess where you stand in relation to these people.
And I think when you join a new team, it's a very good question that you asked. I've always appreciated when a new member of the team comes up to me and says, I'm really happy to be on this team. What can I contribute? What would you like of me? I think getting clear justification, So a team leader might say, we really could use someone who does this, this, and this. And you can say, either, hey, I'm really interested in that, I'd like to do that, or I don't have experience in that, but I'd like to learn. I think any team leader, any team appreciates a new member who wants to be a part of a solution, not a part of a problem. When I've been fortunate enough to be a department chair of 3 different departments of psychiatry. And I know the first thing I always did when I became chair is I went to my dean, my boss, and I asked them, what do you expect? What do you want from the Department of Psychiatry? What can I do as the chair of this department? Because I was part of the dean's team with the other departments when I've run research groups or I've been a part of them. So I think at your stage early on, when you join a new team, don't expect that you've got to read their minds as to what it is that they want. I've always found that asking the question in an honest and open way, again, I underscore what Professor Sartorius said about being a listener, but when I have junior members join a team or I join a new team, it's always good to have a clear sense of what do they expect of me? And if the expectation is something beyond that I have, then I think you're, maybe to say, I understand you want this of me. I want to be honest. This is not a skill that I'll work hard to get this. But if this is really, if you need someone who's got superior IT skills and computer skills, I'm not very good at that. If someone asked me that on the team, I said, you know what, I can see, and I know how critically important this is. That's not a skill of mine. And I don't want to I never want to be a part of a problem. I always want to be part of a solution. So I've always appreciated and respected team members who have come up either individually or as the team gets to know each other to say, what can I do to contribute to the success of this? Because we will fail or we'll succeed as a team. What can I do to be a positive contribution? And then I think it allows you to kind of judge how you go from there. Be the good listener, but at least have a clear expectation of what they want from you.
Professor Choshkun, we'll have to leave you at 9. I have somebody coming to talk to me. So I have 5 more minutes, and I just wanted to thank you for inviting me to join this group.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for being with us. I had in mind to ask you if you remember 1987, the first time you came to Turkey for our mental health program development activities. And there at the floor, talking to the minister and all the people, you had said one thing about me, always using the subject we. Do you recognize that? Do you remember that? That was something which made me conscious about what I was doing unconsciously. I had gone to Switzerland to meet Dr. Sartorius to ask what we could do in the Ministry of Health. And I wasn't aware that I was always talking about our team, we. And you made it clear to me later during that meeting.
Thank you for remembering this. Yes, well, our friendship goes back for a long time, and I hope it's a wonderful to hear that one remembers good things from the past, and I think that's one of the great values of being together. It makes your life fuller. So, my friends, thank you very much for your attention.
Can I ask you, since we have 2 more minutes,
yes,
can I ask you one thing before you leave? What is the best way to divorce the relations?
Yeah, that's a very good question, in fact. I think that it has to be, unless it's necessary, it has to be announced fair in advance. If you have to say that, I have in so and such a time, I'll have to leave, etc. But it's also important to work individually with various members, creating jointly a perspective of being together despite of distance. I'm not going to be the member of the team, but I'd like to work with you on such and such, or I'll come back to you on such and such a thing, or we must spend the holiday together. So you try to make it clear that your absence from the team or your departure from the team is not that you want to stop the relationship with the members who are in the team. You make it individual friendships with each one of them and explain ways in which you will remain with them as much as you can. And then you can leave and still have relations. You know, some of them you will never like, and that's unavoidable. For them, you have to be friendly with them, but you will not build that. But for many others, usually for the majority of the members of the team, you build the perspective of the future, although you will not be coming to the team and you will not work on the same topic. So that's something that you can gradually develop. And it's wonderful because many of the studies in which we have been, in which we had collaborative team, people stayed separated, no more team, but we remained friends. And I think that was the greatest value that came out of it. The papers have been published. Some people read them, others did not, and they went into the archives. But friendships did not. I always, one study in which I participated, which was originally the team members were selected with great care by Professor Tsung-Yi Lin, who was a Taiwanese psychiatrist, very able man who selected people for the study of schizophrenia. And we did the study on schizophrenia. He later left and I was continuing working with this study. And I think one of the greatest achievements of that study, apart from finding things out about schizophrenia, was that the grandchildren of the original investigators take holidays together. They go out together for holidays. And I think that's something that the team, that this particular study created, which has survived all of these notions of papers that we have produced. Papers were important, yes, and they contributed to science, but the friendship contributed to growth of all of us. So thank you very much. I have to leave you. Good luck, and I hope to see you in life somewhere. It will be important. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to pick up on something that Professor Sartorius just said, and I really need to hear from the group. You know, building teams, Professor Sartorius, Professor Kostyan, we come from a generation where we could sit and have a cup of coffee or tea after a meeting that there was spent. I'd like to hear from you, you know, post-COVID and now these Zoom calls. I mean, it's great that we can have this call, but we're all over it's very late at night in Los Angeles. It's early in the morning in Turkey and somewhere in between in other countries. But I'm wondering what your thoughts are on developing teams and collaboration and building bridges. I'd love to hear your perspective as a generation that's grown up with social media. What is going to be the impact? I can tell you personally, I really miss not seeing my dear friend Bulan Kostyan. And I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing and his lovely and brilliant wife, who's a child psychiatrist, Ayşin, in hopefully November in Turkey, because I miss, even though we see each other on Zoom calls regularly, and it's good to see his face, but I'd love to hear from your perspective. Is this as big an issue? Are we going to have to adjust? Because I never feel the same personal connection on a Zoom call when I might see one or two other faces. So I'd love to have you educate me, even though I'm at the back end of my career, you all are just starting yours.
I think that's a really great question. Just as a disclaimer, I don't think nothing can replace the power of being together with someone in person in the same room and just like experiencing their whole being in that close perimeter. I didn't do much work during COVID, but before COVID, because I would work in an international setting, we would do most of our communications through Zoom meetings with people all around the world from different time zones. And I have to say, I think growing up with social media really does help take the sort of lacking of not seeing each other in person. Because we would be able to utilize the tools that we would use in normal life, like communication tools such as like Instagram and Facebook, just to maintain that social relationship parallel to the professional relationship that happened through Zoom. But we were lucky in the sense that because especially I worked pre-COVID, we would have like biannual meetings, so we would actually get to meet twice a year and we would actually see each other. So that's why I say nothing can actually replace that feeling of being in the same room with the people that you work with and I don't know, staying up late at night because you're working but you're also talking. But yeah, it is definitely manageable, perhaps more manageable for us because we are used to maintain these relationships through social media. Like it's not just we share photos and stuff, but we also experience our daily lives through social media, through what that discovery pages offer us. So when we see some, like what I do is whenever I see something funny, I just like open my list in Instagram and I just like send it to all the people, all the friends that came on the top of my head, and I stay connected through them, through the jokes I share. And like we get to experience humor as if we're like seeing each other every day. Obviously, it's not the same, but it's somehow manageable. In more practical sense, what we would do would be try to incorporate a lot of socialization techniques in the professional work, such as like we would have monthly reports to be filled, but we would also have a personal section where people would share anecdotes or jokes. And when we meet through Zoom, we would actually discuss about these things and have like social work parties and stuff like that. So yeah, but I really do wish I get this chance to see all my friends again in person. It's like nothing like it. Yeah, there's nothing like it.
I think it's going to be a really important point to study and to teach is how do we develop, because I truly believe collaborations and interprofessional work, working together with our colleagues, building bridges, all the things we're talking about today. I think this is the future of our field in psychiatry. Yeah. And I guess I'm concerned, but want to learn about how we use those techniques to build collaborations, to build successful teams, to do an interprofessional, interdisciplinary work that I know Boulat and I have been talking about for many years through the WPA, but I sometimes worry, since I'm not big on the social media, that is that going to mean that I will no longer be able to be part of a solution and provide leadership, because that's not an area of expertise of mine, nor is it one that I must say I'm motivated, to get on, to have the whole World Wide Web see what I think is funny or whatever. I mean, I come from that generation where being together and, in person, but yet I understand what you're saying. So how can you teach me and others like me who are in leadership roles? And to me, the most important thing I do as a leader now is to train the next generation, to train people to do my job way better than I ever did it. So that's why I'm so thrilled that Boulat has spent so much time in putting this together and engaging, because he and I both believe the future of our field is you. But now I need to ask you, I'm still, hopefully for a few more years, at least in leadership roles, what can I do to learn from you about what COVID has changed in many ways, that we can still develop ongoing effective collaborations and build effective bridges given this new reality that we have?
I agree. It is, by the way, even though we are young and able to communicate through social media, it is hard even for us to communicate from social media. About what I learned from COVID period, I try to contribute as much as I can do as it is in face-to-face, and I try to ask my team members about their life and how they're doing about COVID. So it was helpful for me to communicate through not the face-to-face, but online.
So what will a leader need to be able to do given this with social media? Because even like tonight, I would have loved, and I'm trying to do this now, I want to hear more from you, because you're the experts in this, not me, not Professor Sartorius, maybe Professor Koshin, because I know he's got a son who's an IT wizard and he's done this well. But I need you to teach me how I can try to do, because I am passionate about trying to do the right thing and to be a good team member and a team leader. But I need to learn from you on how to use or not use these to create positive collaborations and to build positive bridges for our field to move forward.
Yeah. First of all, don't worry, because I don't know about Sana or Iram, but I'm definitely no expert. Like I'm in the older end of Gen Z, like I'm 25 and I don't know how to use TikTok and I don't know how the kids do it with the editing and stuff. I'm very inspired by them, but I'm no expert either. But what I try to do is like social media is no like heaven sent tool. It's actually, there are a lot of things that are detrimental about it. I mean, it is very questionable how effective of a tool that it is in conveying like true emotions and like actually building connections. But what I have come to learn with this online communication is there's always this silver lining that this makes everything more accessible to people who like to people whom it normally wouldn't be, like people from like regions that are like harder to travel around the world, either due to financial reasons or political reasons, people who can't be there in person because of like accessibility issues, for instance. So this was something that was always inspired me, like, and I always tell to myself, even if like, or when, let's be optimistic and say when COVID is over, I would actually like these things to go on because it is actually building towards a fairer world and making things more accessible and giving people more chances to participate in something. And when it comes to social media, I acknowledge it's tricky because it has this sense of permanence, like it is something you put online, even if it's private messaging, but you also have to do it in a very casual way. So you have to find that balance of being your sincere self, but also not saying something that will like age horribly in even like in 100 years. So people that single mistake isn't your legacy in the world or something. But I think like for both of you, Dr. Coşkun and Dr. Baran, I think you're in a good track because you are very open when it comes to communication. And with social media, I think it's just easy as reaching out to people and asking like how they're doing, or like when seeing something. There are actually a lot of interesting things that people out there share. Like in Twitter, there are actually a really good community, the Psych Twitter. They share their work and interesting things about psychiatry professionals. So even if you're just like scrolling them and like checking them out, if you see something interesting, you can just like reply to them or just like send it to someone else that you know, and that's like a conversation starter. So for me, that's always like that. I mostly share humorous stuff, but there are also a lot of things on Instagram I come across regarding like human rights issues, or even like about like psychiatry, mental health, and it's just like an interesting thing to share with someone. And it's just like I direct message it to a friend I know, and it's just like a conversation starter. And it's like it's a really good way to stay in touch and you know, start a discussion. So I think that could be a good place to start. Twitter is more professional friendly, but it's also more chaotic compared to other platforms, I think. But I personally benefited a lot from it. I wasn't an active user, but I went to do a psychiatry residency in the US, so I was like trying to find ways to network. So very recently, I actually turned my face to Twitter and just like thought, hey, maybe there are professionals here who actually share their work and maybe I can collaborate with them through this. And I actually found a lot of people who were working in like global mental health and like eager to share their thoughts and work. And I like through that connection in Twitter, I actually reached out to a few of them and actually built connections that led to several lines of work that are like not several, but like lines of work that I'm involved in now. So it is actually an effective tool to start those sort of relationships. So yeah.
One thing I did want to mention that's a little bit off track on this discussion, but I think very important, is when you're working with the team and the collaboration, it's really helpful to have someone who can form kind of the glue of the organization. And I want to share an example. So Professor Coşkun and I, we're working with our section on developing grant submissions. with people from all over the globe. And we have one of the members of our team, his name is Jim Whitehead. He's not a psychiatrist, he's not a physician, but he's got excellent organizational skills. He makes sure he sets up all the Zoom meetings. He starts sending us announcements of the Zoom 2 days before, so everybody knows exactly when it is. He sends his time calculator. And I think one of the things that I found in my roles, in leadership roles, being a head of a team or being a member of a team, is having someone like that is really so valuable that, you know, it's, so he provides in his own way, quiet organizational leadership. And I'd like Boulan maybe to make some comments as well, because I've known the guy and worked with him for a number of years now. But I think, you know, again, it's, you need members of the team who can provide different services, you know, like the sports analogy. You need a good goalkeeper if you're going to have a good soccer team. You need someone who can put the ball in the goal if you're going to win the game. And Jim, who works with our team, he's very respectful of all the members on the team. He makes sure that things get done in a way where it's not like you're assigned that. But I think that's one of the things as you get started in your careers, when you're working with the team, even if people have all the best intentions, we all get very busy. We have other things going on in our lives. And it's really good. It really, I think, makes a significant contribution to the success of the team to build those bridges when you have someone has that knowledge and the skills to kind of keep the team together. So Boulan, I know you've worked with Jim. Maybe you'd want to comment on that.
Well, thank you for reminding that. At the beginning, I had some difficulties in relating with his way of organization. But it took me some time to learn the importance of his being with us. And there it was your leadership which helped indeed. So leadership is something to bring together the team members, as you give examples from football. By the way, before continuing, we have Irem among us. She's at a clinic now. She has come in and gone out. Irem, would you like to say anything about Dr. Barron's questions or anything else?
Hello. First of all, thank you for this insightful meeting. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
It's okay. Okay. I was in the clinic. Sorry for these interruptions. Now I'm trying to say a few words. Firstly, I agree with what Idil say. I'm not that kind of into social media stuff. I don't use Instagram or Twitter or something, but I think that these online meetings provide us so much things during this period of COVID. For me, for example, in my medical school, there are not so much students who are interested in psychiatry or having collaborations in psychiatry. There are a few people about it. And our psychiatry professors are not always in the hospital, so it's difficult to reach them. And I think and due to these online meetings, I had so many chances to communicate with people all around the world, both the students that have same interest as me and both the professors as you who wish to work with students. And I think that it's been important for me. Yeah. I think in terms of collaborations, I also agree that always we must be in collaboration with our co-workers. But sometimes in medical faculty, excuse me for the sounds. But sometimes during our medical education, I think that we are not good enough, or I don't know. In Turkey, for example, before medical education, we were like studying a lot for medical school. And then after that, we have enough time for practice communication with our coworkers or between ourselves. I think maybe in medical education there can be some sessions or practice about it, because I see that a lot of people have problems about talking to teachers, for example, or talking to patients. They don't know how to communicate, or they don't know how to collaborate with them. So I think that maybe we have some sessions in medical education, just like this session, how to cultivate collaboration. Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry for this noisy environment. I'm in the hospital.
I believe David will say a few words.
Well, Bülent is always such a gentleman. We've worked together on so many congresses over the years. He's really the brilliant one, but he always lets me have the last word. He's always does the work. If you ever want to have a team be successful, you want people like Professor Kostyan, who just do it for the right reasons because they're passionate about the topic, they're hard workers, and they don't accept anything but the best and of himself and of others. So my dear friend, let me thank you, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, for all the work you put in to do something that I think is so important. I think the topic for today's discussion, I truly believe, just like you are the future of our field, I think collaboration and interprofessional work is the future of psychiatry. So your ability to learn to be good collaborators, to learn to build bridges to our colleagues in, particularly in the area of primary care medicine, which is, about as hot a topic as you can get these days. It's the section that Bülent and I worked together on for the WPA, which is, the psychiatry, medicine, and primary care, that the collaborations and that the skills that we need to continue to develop will certainly include mastering some of the social media. But I think at the end of the day, it's really what we talked about this whole session, which is about, being passionate about what we're doing for the right reasons, about asking the questions, about being a good listener, and about, to me, I don't think you can overstate the importance of showing respect for your patients, for your colleagues, for other students, for everyone. If we all show respect to each other, I think the world will be a better place. I think our field in psychiatry is at an important crossroads. And you will be the ones that will take us to the promised land, so to speak, where that psychiatry is a subspecialty of medicine, and that we are committed with our colleagues to the health, safety, and well-being, physical, emotional, spiritual, of our patients. And working together will do that better. So again, I need to thank my dear friend. I need to thank all of you for taking time from your busy schedules. And hopefully, I always say this, but we need to keep doing it, is we need to hear more from you. Not only your questions, but your perspectives, because you are our future. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. I think it's time to close our session. Thank you for your kind words. I hope there would be a possibility for some politicians to listen to the advices provided here by Dr. Sartorius and Dr. Beren. Because respecting, listening is so important, not only for physicians, but all the people everywhere, including the managers at different levels. Does anyone else want to say anything? Sena, Irem, Idil, as the last word. Thank you all for being together. Hope to see you next 10th of month, 10th July. I'm closing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you.
Be well and be safe, everyone. Thank you.